Every marketplace has that one seller everyone trusts without question. But what if the sweetest smile was hiding the darkest truth? They called her Madame Sweetfish. Her stall was always spotless, her fish always the freshest, her prices far too generous. Customers traveled from near and far just to buy from her. They swore no one else's fish had that same unforgettable taste. And so they returned again and again. But what if I told you the fish you fried last night didn't come from any river, stream, or ocean? People whispered about her calmness. She never shouted like other traders, never begged customers to buy, never fought for space. Yet her baskets were always empty by noon. If only they knew what she truly sold as fish. Amara's days became a cycle of begging for work. She knocked on gates, stood at the edges of other people's farms, and pleaded for any task. Sometimes they let her weed their crops. Sometimes she fetched water from the stream. At times she cooked or cleaned. More often than not, they treated her like a servant, using her labor but refusing to pay. Amara, we'll pay you next week. Ah, it's not much work now. Just help us. After all, you're idle. Some mocked her outright. Look at the proud farmer's wife, reduced to a laborer. That's what love marriage brings. At night, she returned home with blistered palms and a back bent from toil. Some nights there was no food at all, only silence, hunger, and the quiet sobs of Adana, who tried to comfort her mother, though she herself was only a child. Years passed like firewood that burned slowly, each day wearing them down. Afyani grew tall and quiet, a shadow of the man his father never had the chance to raise. By 14, he was gentle, dependable, always helping Amara with chores and caring for Adana when she went to farms for labor. But sorrow was not done with Amara. One afternoon, Ifyani returned from fetching firewood looking pale. By evening, he was burning with fever. The next morning, his lips were cracked, his eyes bloodshot, his body trembling. Amara rushed him to Oguta General Hospital, the same place where Kalechi had died. The doctor examined him and sighed. "Your son has a severe infection. It has entered the bloodstream. We must begin treatment immediately." Amara clasped her hands. "Yes, doctor, please do anything. Just help him." The man looked at her flatly. "You need to deposit 300,000 naira before we can start." The words froze in her chest. "Doctor, I don't have that kind of money, but I will find it. Please, just admit him. Start the treatment. I swear I'll bring the money." The doctor shook his head. "I'm sorry, that's against policy. No payments, no treatment." She dropped to her knees, her voice breaking. "Please, doctor, he's just a child. Have mercy." But he walked away. What followed was madness. Amara ran through the village like a woman possessed. She did not feel the sharp stones tearing her feet, nor cared that her wrapper had come loose. She went door to door, pleading. At Mama Azuka's house, the woman Amara had served most, she shook with desperation. "Please, I beg you, my son is dying. The hospital needs money. Help me." Mama Azuka sneered. "Do I look like I grow money on trees? If your witchcraft has turned against you, go and solve it yourself. Did I tell you to kill your husband?" Amara trembled. "Then at least give me the wages you owe me. Please, I'll use it to beg others." Azuka laughed harshly. "I have nothing now. Come back next week after I sell my vegetables." Amara wept openly, clutching at her feet. "Please, please." But the woman turned her back and slammed the door. Others treated her worse. Some didn't open their doors at all. Some muttered that her suffering was punishment from the gods. She returned to the hospital with nothing but tears. That night, Ifyani died. His body was still warm, his eyes half open, as if waiting for her return. Amara screamed. She cradled him, her cries tearing through the night. No neighbor came. Even the nurses stayed away, whispering about bad spirits. She sat beside his body till morning, without food, without water, without sleep. For days she refused to eat. Her daughter, Adana, now 15, tried to coax her, pressing water to her lips. But Amara's soul had gone quiet. She sat staring at the cracked wall of their hut, her face pale, her eyes hollow, her back bent not from age but from despair. After burying both Kelechi and Ifeanyi, the world felt ended. Yet life pressed on. Amara and Adana still had to survive. Mother and daughter became like shadows moving under the sun. Each morning before the first rooster crowed in Oguta, Adana tied her mother's headscarf and took her hand. Together they walked into the rising dawn, tools in hand, hope thinning. They cleared weeds on farms, fetched water, ground melon seeds, pounded yam, washed clothes, whatever anyone would pay for, however little. Some days they returned with scraps of food. Other days only bruises and blisters. 2 years passed this way until fate struck again. Amara fell ill. At first she thought it was exhaustion, her body rebelling after years of suffering. But it worsened. Her joints ached, her chest burned, her body shook. She could no longer work. At 17, Adana took over. She cooked, cleaned, labored on farms, and watched her mother waste away. When fever consumed Amara, Adana clutched their last savings, tethered notes held tight in her palm, and ran to the village chemist. The man handed her a few tablets and told her to return if they didn't work. They didn't. Amara's breathing grew shallow, her eyes dimmed with desperation. Adana ran to Mama Ugu, the woman who had once hired them to clear her fields. Tears streamed down her face. "Please, Mama, help me. My mother is dying. I need money to take her to the hospital." Mama Ugu folded her arms, her gaze cold. "Do I look like a bank to you? Where would I get money?" "Then at least pay us for the work we did last month on your farm. You owe us, Mama. Please." The woman turned her face away. "I told you, I don't."
"Come back next week. Maybe I'll have sold my cassava by then," Mamo said coldly, slamming her wooden door in Chimamanda's face. Shaking, Chimamanda went from house to house, begging, pleading. Some villagers shut their doors. Others spat at her. The very people her mother had once served with loyalty now avoided her as though she carried a plague. When she turned in desperation to her uncles, Aig and Chukuma, they laughed bitterly. "You want help? Give yourself to us, and maybe we'll consider it." Horrified, Chimamanda ran from their compound in tears. A week later, Namdike died quietly, without a final word. Her lips cracked, her hair unkempt like betel twigs. Chimamanda screamed, but no one answered. She dug a shallow grave behind the old hut, burying her mother alone. No prayers, no condolences, only silence and pain. The whispers began again. "She's cursed. She buried her whole family. She must be a witch just like her mother." Then came the final cruelty. Her uncles tried to force her back into their homes, not to protect her, but to use her. She refused. Ashamed and enraged, they accused her of theft, witchcraft, and prostitution. The biased elders believed them. Banished. Cast out of Umuzu. That night, with only the moon as her witness, Chimamanda walked to the river where her mother once fetched water. She sat on a rock, her feet covered in red sand, her face streaked with tears. She had nowhere to go. Then a voice spoke softly behind her. "Why do you cry, child? I see your pain." Chimamanda turned. A young woman stood there, clothed in a glowing white wrapper. Her voice was calm, her presence radiant. She reached out gently. "Come with me." Chimamanda followed to a small hut near the riverbank, one she had never noticed before. Inside, the woman offered her food and water. She ate like someone starved not only of bread but of kindness. When she finished, she poured out her heart, her father's death, her brother's burial, her mother's suffering, her banishment, every betrayal, every wound. The woman listened silently, then smiled. "You are safe now. They will never hurt you again." Chimamanda whispered, trembling, "Who are you?" The woman's eyes glowed. "I am Miriam, goddess of this river. I have watched your suffering and chosen you. You have two paths, to move on or to make them pay." Her voice cracked, but her resolve was steady. "I want them to pay. For everything." Miriam nodded. "Then we begin. But remember, revenge is not struck in anger. It is brewed in wisdom. I will prepare you." 20 years passed. Chimamanda was no longer the broken girl of Umuzu. She had become a woman of grace, beauty, and unspeakable power. On the night of a full moon, the river goddess summoned her again. Stars glittered above. Spirits lingered in the shadows. "My daughter, the time has come," Miriam said, handing her a calabash marked with sacred symbols. "You will return as a fish seller. Buckets of fish will appear at your door each morning. Sweet, addictive, unforgettable. The villagers will fight to buy from you, and your uncles will be the first to eat." Chimamanda's lips curled into a smile. Then she laughed, a deep, hollow laugh that echoed across the river. "Let the feast begin." She returned to Umuzu, not in shame, but in style. Her skin glowed, her smile was serene, her presence cloaked in mystery. No one recognized the girl they once mocked. She rented a small apartment at the edge of the village. The next morning, she rose before dawn, skilled her fish, seasoned them with ginger and sense leaf, and prepared a pepper soup so divine the gods themselves would envy it. Dressed simply, she carried steaming bowls of the soup to her uncles. "Good morning, sirs," she said, bowing respectfully. "I've returned to begin a fish business, but first, I thought it proper to honor the elders with this token. Please accept my soup as a sign of respect." Surprised by her grace, they welcomed her warmly. "You did well, my daughter. This is how things are done." They blessed her, showered her with kind words, and devoured the soup greedily. The very next day, she opened a stall in the market. Her fish, glistening in the sun, drew everyone in. Villagers ignored the old vendors and rushed to her. "Madam, give me 2. No, 3, 4. I must cook for my in-laws." By the end of the week, the entire village was feasting on Chimamanda's fish. They even gave her a name, Madame Sweetfish. But what they didn't know, what they could never imagine, was that the sweetness carried a price. For every night, just before midnight, something eerie began. A strange wind began to haunt Oguta. Night after night, when the village clocks had long stopped and even dogs slept, doors would creak open and people would rise as if pulled by a string. Men, women, children, sleep in their eyes, feet bare, faces blank. They walked without a sound through the dark, down the red paths toward the river. Miriam waited. The river did not merely receive them, it swallowed them. Bodies shimmered at the water's edge, blurred and changed, flesh and bone folding into scale and fin. Dozens first, then hundreds, they turned beneath the moon into silver shapes that circled and flickered beneath the surface. When dawn came, Miriam gathered that living silver like a harvest and laid it at Chimamanda's doorstep, gleaming, steaming, impossible. Chimamanda would wake, lift the buckets, and carry the river's gift to her stall. The market began as before. The same customers, the same smiling neighbors, the same
hungry voices. They bought and cooked and praised the taste, soft flesh, unforgettable sweetness. They did not know, could not imagine that the fish on their plates had once laughed with them, argued with them, loved them, or been their own children. The price was low, the taste enslaving, so no one stopped. Word spread. Soon, sellers from neighboring hamlets came to Oguta. People traveled from farther villages. Madame Sweetfish became a name on lips across 7 communities. Chimamanda's fame rose like a fire that devoured other fires. Other vendors watched in silence as their tables dried and their pockets emptied. They muttered questions. Why is her fish so sweet? Why so cheap? Why do people rush only to her stall? But fear kept their tongues tied. Superstition kept their hearts shuddered. And every night the river called. More vanished. First a child, then an old man, then 3 young women returning from the stream. Homes were emptied overnight. Entire families disappeared as if the earth had swallowed them. No traces, no struggle, simply absence and an expanding silence. Among the missing were Chimamanda's own uncles, Daiki and Namdi, last seen walking near the river. Their empty compounds became another morning's mystery. Panic cracked across the land. The kings of the surrounding realms could not sleep. When the disappearances reached beyond Oguta, the monarchs convened beneath the old Iruko tree, the same tree where elders had once settled disputes for generations. Robes and crowns did little to lighten the dread on their faces. After long hours of debate and trembling counsel, they had one desperate answer: call the most powerful native healer, the Dibia. He came with drums and beads and a reputation to match. For a while, hope flickered, but after hours of incense and heavy chanting, the Dibia's face went pale. His beads trembled in his hands. He opened his eyes and said quietly, "My kings, the gods are silent. Their mouths are closed. I cannot reach them." Despair hung thick until one elder, a one-eyed king with a mind sharp as flint, remembered an old legend. He said, "There is a sea priestess. She lives beyond the hills. If anyone can speak with the gods, it is she." Messengers rode through the night, and 3 market days later a woman arrived, cloaked in red and white, barefooted, eyes burning with the light not of this world. She was Princess Uma, a sea priestess, whose footsteps stilled the wind. She stood before the council. "Kings," she said, voice low as thunder, "a great thing has awakened its anger. Miriam, River Mother, is not at peace. If we do nothing, this land will drown in sorrow. We must appease her." The remedy seemed simple on paper: 2 white fowls, 2 spotless goats, and a ceremonial offering at the river at dawn. The people followed the rites, hearts heavy but hopeful. They came to the river before sunrise. Mist clung to their ankles. Princess Uma lifted her arms and called, "Great Miriam, Mother of the waters, hear us. We kneel and offer these gifts. Have mercy. Forgive us." The water answered violently. Calm exploded into a whirlpool. From the center rose Miriam, vast, terrible, magnificent. Her hair flowed like tidal waves. Her eyes were burning coals. Her voice was 10,000 storms. "Your sacrifice is rejected," she roared. The earth trembled and birds fell silent. "You have hurt my daughter. Now taste my wrath." The priest begged. The kings pleaded. Miriam's grief turned to fury. "There will be no forgiveness," she thundered. "You turned your backs on an orphan. You shamed her. You accused her of witchcraft and cast her out. I took her as my child. Now she is my instrument. Live or die a slow death." With a scream that split the sky, Miriam sank back into the river. The water stilled like glass. The crowd staggered away, shaken to their bones. Inside the great hall, after the kings had recovered from shock, Princess Uma spoke plainly. This land betrayed a girl who had no one. Her father died. Her brother was allowed to suffer. Her mother perished alone. You blamed and banished her. The goddess watched, took pity, and made her powerful. If we are to survive, there is but one way. Find Chimamanda. Beg her forgiveness. Fall at her feet. Appease her and the spirit that protects her. If she will not relent, then no altar or goat will save us. A hush fell over the court, not empty this time, but heavy with what was to come. The silence was the breath before the storm. Princess Uma's voice cut through it, calm, terrible in its certainty. Go, find her or prepare to drown.
The woman you wronged, the one you cast out as a witch, the one whose tears watered the roots of the river's rage, she is none other than Madame Sweetfish. Silence cracked open like thunder. The kings gasped so violently it was as though guilt itself had stolen their breath. "Madame Sweetfish?" stammered the king of Umutsu. "The same woman whose fish fed us all?" "Yes," Princess Uma replied solemnly. "But you were not eating fish. You were eating yourselves. The missing villagers, every last one, transformed into fish and sold back to their own people." The kings clutched their stomachs in horror. One gagged, another whispered, trembling. "We must stop this madness. Sound the drums, warn the people at once." Within the hour, the town crier marched through the streets, his voice breaking the night. "People of Umutsu, hear this truth. Do not eat the fish of Madame Sweetfish. I repeat, do not eat her fish. The fish is your flesh. It is your brother, your sister, your very soul." The village erupted. Women shrieked, tearing at their wrappers. "I ate my own mother," one wailed. Another sobbed. "Oh heavens, we've been eating human beings as fish. What curse is this?" Men stood frozen, their faces pale. "Who knows whose flesh I have eaten? Perhaps my own brother." That evening, trembling like a leaf in the harmattan wind, the king of Umutsu went to Chimamanda's home. She stepped out, radiant, yet cloaked in grief, her eyes carrying a sorrow too heavy for her years. Her voice was cold. "What are you doing here?" The king knelt before her without pride. "My daughter, forgive us. We wronged you. We listened to lies. We let you starve. We called you witch when you were only broken and alone. Now our people perish. Save us, I beg you." Chimamanda's gaze did not soften. "I begged," she said quietly. "I pleaded. None of you listened. You watched me suffer and you did nothing. And now you ask for forgiveness?" Days passed. She would not answer. Until one morning, the entire village, old and young, rich and poor, gathered at her doorstep, weeping, pleading, laying bare their shame. And something shifted in her heart. She stepped out at last, her voice steady. "I will forgive you. Not because you deserve it, nor because I have forgotten, but because I know what it means to hurt, and I would not wish it upon another soul. I forgive you,
so that you may show kindness to the next broken soul you find." The crowd erupted in cries of relief, but Princess Uma stepped forward, her face grave. "Chimamanda, the curse cannot lift until you return to the river. You must offer yourself to Miriam. Only then will peace return." Chimamanda closed her eyes. She had lost everything, yet gained clarity. She nodded. "If that is the price of peace, I will pay it." The villagers followed her solemnly to the river. The skies held their breath. The water glowed faintly as she stepped in. From the depths, Miriam, the river goddess, rose, tall, radiant, terrifying. "Welcome, my daughter. Come to me." Chimamanda looked back one final time at the people who had once abandoned her. She smiled softly. Let the gods finish what men could not. She took the goddess's hand. Together, they vanished beneath the waters. From that day, the river grew calm again. The disappearances stopped. Fish returned to the markets, and joy cautiously crept back into Umutsu. Every year, on the night of the full moon, the people gathered at the riverbank, lighting candles, singing songs, offering flowers in honor of Chimamanda, the girl they once cast aside. And when the moonlight struck the waters just right, some swore they could see her there, standing beside the goddess, smiling, watching over them. Moral of the story: never ignore the cries of the helpless. The pain you dismiss today may return tomorrow as vengeance. Kindness is a currency. With it, you may save a soul or one day buy your own redemption. Be careful how you treat the quiet ones. Not all wounds heal with grace.